Yo, let's go back.
I'm just speaking now. I'm going to carry on about. Carry on about.
All right, that was the scene at Kotoka International Airport last night. iShowSpeed arrived in Ghana. It looks like I'm frozen. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Give us a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Okay, it looks like I'm back now. Welcome to This Week in Ghana, your bi-weekly live stream where we talk about all things Ghana news and all things Ghana related. Before we get into today's topics, we like to start with introductions. So first, I'll turn it over to our co-host for her introduction before I introduce myself.
Hello, my name is Ivy Prosper. I am the founder of Prosper Creative Group. I am also a YouTube creator with my channel, Ivy Prosper, where I tell stories from Africa and the African diaspora. And I also do work as a documentary producer and speaker and author of the book, Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana. And I'm excited to get into today's conversations about the news in Ghana this week.
Absolutely. And I'm Joe Hitagwa, the founder of Authentic African. I am on a mission to help people visit, move, and invest on the continent of Africa. We bridge the gap between those living on the continent and those living in the diaspora. Every other Monday, we go live to talk about all things happening in Ghana. As I mentioned earlier, we've spoken about this 2 weeks ago, and we're speaking about it again. As you saw at midnight GMT, iShowSpeed landed in Ghana. It has been a very eventful day. As 10 Plomate says, Ghana won this tour. Great start and message and good end. I don't want to read it the way you wrote it.
The massage therapy.
The massage therapy at Maya's company. Just the way it was written, I don't want to read it that way because that's not the type of massage, but it was a great ending to the trip. If that's what he did, I didn't realize he went back for the massage again, but I know that's how he started it. It is a very eventful day. He obviously landed at Kotoka. He went to a number of different places. He was given a Ghanaian name. He met to the Shea Butter Museum and met with Hamamat. And as mentioned, he did get his massage. And so to really quickly, I will play a couple of clips from these videos and then we'll give some commentary from the other side because as you know, or you may not know, Ivy actually got a chance to see some of this in real time. So we'll play some video and then we'll get a chance to hear from Ivy's firsthand account of what it was like on ground there in Ghana. And we'll give some responses to these and reactions to these videos as well. So first things first, the naming ceremony. So I think this was interesting, and I'll play a little bit of it. But this is from Chop Daily. They're a Ghanaian focused, if I'm not mistaken, platform. And they talked a little bit about and showed some of the footage from his stream on the naming ceremony. So let's share some of that, and then we'll have some others to follow immediately after.
We are naming you. We have to cleanse you first before naming you. So we are cleansing you before the naming ceremony.
don't think so.
So now it's time for the naming ceremony.
All right, Chad, I'm about to get my name.
Today, they are giving you Berima Kofi Ekufu.
Berima Kofi Ekufu.
Berima Kofi. Kofi means it means you are born on Friday.
That's my Ghanaian name right
Yes.
now. Berima Kofi Ekufu. Okufu.
Berima Kofi Ekufu.
Berima Kofi Okufu.
Yes.
That's my.
All right, so he got his Ghanaian name. As we mentioned, he also
It's practically the grand finale.
went to the spa.
Today is practically the grand finale.
So this is him with all the energy at the spa. And then lastly, I just want to show that he did go to the Shea Butter Museum, and he met with Hamamat and her team there. This was interesting because she must be familiar with his content because she did some of the things that he's known for doing, like barking. Let me refresh that real quick so you guys get the feel for how that went, because this is different.
Yo, fuck! Hey, Chad, I love seeing butter. I love seeing butter. I love Ghana. Oh, I love Ghana, Chad.
Okay, that's enough. You guys can obviously go to the social media platforms to get more on that. I just wanted to share a little bit of snippets from what's today, because this is all in one day. He was moving around a lot. Ivy, I'll give my thoughts on this, and then I want to turn it over to you because you've also were at one of the locations that he went to. So the first thing I'll say is, with what he did in Ghana, it seemed like it was a much more eventful trip, very structured. He did a lot of stuff in one day. When I looked at other countries and when there were some other countries actually where he did do a lot, and he had more days to do them. But just the fact that he went to the Shea Butter Museum, he went to Independence Square, he went to get the massage at the waterfall, and then other things that he was able to do today. The naming ceremony, all being done in one day, is aggressive and a lot to do. So shout out to those who were responsible for putting together this itinerary and making it happen. I also think it was a great representation of Ghana, the welcoming, obviously Ghanaians and the country has always been known for its welcoming nature, hearing Akwaba everywhere you go, etc. And I think it shined through. Some of the people in the comments said Ghana won this. And I think there'll probably be other people who agree with that thought process. So that's my thoughts overall on this trip to Ghana. I think we've talked at length on his trip to the continent. But Ivy is on the ground and was there today at Independence Square. So Ivy, your thoughts on the trip to Ghana and then what you experienced today at Independence Square?
So first I have to say that it was what I expected as being a high testosterone environment. When I say that, I mean his fans are mostly men, young men. So it's like people between the ages of like 10 to 25, a large number of young men. And so the energy level matches what he typically, shows on his channel. So people were on motorcycles riding around Independence Square, people who were on bicycles and doing like tricks. And then there were some people with cars that were just, driving around, spinning out in the cars and everything while waiting for him to arrive. Because initially we were told that he was going to be starting at Independence Square at 1:30 in the afternoon. So there's quite a few people who gathered there expecting to see him. But then it turned out he actually started in the Eastern region and so it was when people started opening up their phones and looking at live streams that they realized he's not anywhere close to Independence Square, and he might not be there for like a couple of hours because he's now in the eastern region of Ghana. So so people occupied themselves with, as I said, the things they were doing on the motorbikes, and some people were drumming, some people were doing some dancing and stuff. And it was mostly young men, boys, young men, teenagers who were there. And then there was the chef Abby, who I thought she was going to be making jollof rice, but she was making the typical Ghanaian favorite, which is the nkosiani meko, which is eggs and pepper, boiled eggs with pepper. And then the jollof that was coming in was being brought in and poured into this huge container so that he can try Ghana jollof. But that jollof, I thought was going to be made by a small catering company, by some woman at home, some auntie or something, but it came from a fast food chain, Pizza Man, Chicken Man, I think is the name of the company, Pizza Man, Chicken Man, and so the rice came from them. The jollof rice came from them. So I was really surprised. I felt that wasn't going to be the most authentic to be serving in when you're trying to compete for best jollof rice in West Africa, that's what was chosen as the rice to be served to him. And so when he did come out, when he did arrive, because he took a helicopter to come to back to Accra from Akropong, where he was in the eastern region. And so he landed in Burma Camp, which is where close to the military base. And then from there, they drove to Black Star Square. And so when he arrived, it was like just pure mayhem. A lot of people were just the usual, following him and screaming. And it was just, it was a sight. And people were just, people were running after his car that he was in. It was unbelievable. Yeah, it was unbelievable. The way that they were. It reminded me of how when I was growing up, I mean, it wasn't to this magnitude, but it reminded me of how, people liked Michael Jackson and different musicians and stuff, and they would like just chase them. But it's not at that intensity because Michael Jackson was like over the top. But I was just using that as an example so people can visualize in their minds the way that people were just running after him. I tried to get in some places, but then it was like hard and people would push. There was a point when the security guards, security in general, were just very aggressive to keep people back, to clear the pathway when he needed to go somewhere. And it literally is like, it doesn't matter who you are. They don't care if you're a little girl, a grown woman, an elderly person. If you are in the way, the security are there to make sure that they push you aside so that you're not in the way. And in the process with the crowds at one point, I was standing somewhere that was actually spacious. And then all of a sudden, when people realized that Speed was coming in that direction, and people started rushing to that area. And then now I was overwhelmed with too many people around me. And then now the security started pushing, and it got to the point that I almost was falling down. And I was like, I'm too old for this. I can't be standing in these crowds like this. I'm too old for this. But the energy was definitely very high. And I was able to snap a couple of shots, took a little bit of video so that I can, make a little bit of content as well. I just want to share an image from, I'm going to try to share my screen if I can, to share a shot that I took. I was trying to get a couple of video clips up, but for some reason it's not loading. So I'm just going to load the picture that I took. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, so that's a picture that I took. I was actually quite far back, and I zoomed in and got this shot. So when he's, of course, out of his car, and all of these people are surrounding him and following him as the car was moving along. But that was one of the shots that I got. And I'm going to see if I can get another shot up I'm trying to get a video up, but the way that my network is, it's not loading very well, but I'm going to keep trying to load up. I want to load a shot to show you how some of these kids, I mean, I call them kids because they're all young. They're like I said, they were between like 10 to 25, some of these kids, and they were just there because they absolutely love him. And some of them are like, they've been following him for a while, and and then some of them, their parents, they're like, the parents don't know who he is, but they want to come. So then their parents let them come. And so you see all these kids just standing around, and they just couldn't wait, for him to come. So this is them when they're occupying themselves on their motorbikes, the bicycles, and, people were spinning out in cars and everything. So this is while waiting for Speed to come. So it was interesting. It was interesting. I wish I could show you a video clip, but unfortunately my network is bad today, and I'm trying to upload the video and it's not loading for me to share so that you can see how it was once he got there. Because once he got there, it was absolute mayhem. It was absolute mayhem. The way people were just running and screaming and shouting, and but people were disappointed that it was like quick. It was like in and out. And one thing I have to say is I think that Speed has to open up his own art gallery featuring pictures of himself, because every artist is like bringing him pictures. So I can imagine he must have so many pictures of himself that people have made for him from around the world. But that was my experience. That was my experience at Black Star Square. There are some things that I would have expected to be part of his tour in Ghana that I think missed the mark, to be honest. I think that we really should have had him see Cape Coast to go to the slave dungeons, because he talked about the door of no return in Ghana when he was in, I think when he was in Benin or when he was in Senegal, one of the two places, he talked about it. And so for him to have mentioned it, and then when he comes to Ghana to not even go there, to me, was completely missing the mark. I know that he had a short time. I know that I saw Wodemaya, and he was saying to someone there who was one of the fans who was asking why didn't they go to Cape Coast, and he was like, Speed only has 5 hours. He only has 5 hours to do his stream in Ghana. So when he does a stream in one day, it's usually 5 hours, and there wasn't enough time for him to go to Cape Coast and come back to do that. But if that's the case, that you can't go to Cape Coast and come back, personally, if it was me doing the itinerary, and you have to stick to Accra, Greater Accra, I would have suggested going to the Osu Castle, which was also a slave fort. That particular one, a lot of the people there were actually sent to the Caribbean, from my understanding, Caribbean and South America. But that place would have been a good one for him to go and see if you're staying in Accra. There's also a place in Jamestown that you can see, Usher Fort, and there's another place where they used to harbor the captured enslaved Africans in Jamestown, where you actually have to go down underground. And so I think that those experiences in Ghana could have been added to the itinerary for him to get that experience, since he did not go to Cape Coast, in my opinion. And I know that they went to Akrapong to do the ceremony with the chief and to do the naming and all that. To save time when your time is compressed, they could have done that in Accra as well. That could have been done in the Gan community with the Gan Manche, the Gan chief, or the chief of Osu. Like, that could have been done in Accra, and then that could have also exposed them to Ghana culture, because a lot of times Ghana culture gets left out in some of these types of things when it comes to promoting Ghana to the world. We know about the Akan culture a lot. You know, I'm not putting down Akan culture because I am half Akan. My mother is Akan, my mom's a Chim. And so I do think that's important. But at the same time, we have the opportunity to show some of the other cultures in Ghana too, like me being Ewe on my Ewe side. But in Accra, Accra is Ghana land. That's where the Ghana people are from, is Accra. So it would have been a good opportunity to showcase Ghana culture. That's my opinion of what could have been shown. And yeah, so I think that those are things that could have been added to the itinerary to make it a little bit more robust as far as learning about Ghana. And then I feel like the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, things should have started earlier, because by the time he got there, it was dark. By the time he got there, the sun had set, and you're not really feeling it and seeing it as much. I know it's a different look when you see it at night, but I think that place deserves to be seen during the daytime to experience, especially when you're learning about the first president of the country, the person who helped to give Ghana independence. I think that that is also something that could have been done as well. He started late. He should have started at like 1:30. He didn't start till like, I don't know, 3:30 or something. So it's all the other countries he went to, the stream started on time. So my question too is, I wonder if there were technical issues, if the internet maybe was having a problem, you know, because we know sometimes we have those issues in Ghana.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's likely that there were some connectivity issues. As you mentioned, some people were mentioning that on his stream, that he was lagging and it was the difficulty seeing him or hearing him. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to find out why he started so late, considering the amount of time that he had. And from what you understand, right, it was just one day in Ghana, so he's leaving today. Is that correct?
Yeah, they said it's only going to be one day. They said it's only a one day experience in Ghana. So I'm not sure what time he's leaving. I think that it would have been, in my opinion too, I think that being that he's 21 and he's Gen Z, I think that he should do nightlife in Ghana, because it's something that people talk about when they talk about Ghana all the time. People always talk about parties in Ghana, talk about how it's lit and it's live, and it is part of Ghana. Ghanaians like to party. So I think that being that it's Monday too, can be a challenge, because people don't go out as much on Monday. But on Mondays in Ghana, people go to this place called Exhale Lounge in East Legon. So a lot of people go to Exhale Lounge in East Legon on Monday evening. So who knows? I don't know who's in charge of his itinerary with his team. But if he is able to, he could go to Exhale Lounge in East Legon and have a good time, have some nightlife in Ghana.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the people are confirming he did have some internet connectivity issues. I guess that's why he started late. And you're right about the getting some nightlife. And then some of the people in the comments are saying his audience is young. They don't want to hear about the enslaved Africans castles. But I think it's important that they learn. They're going to watch his stream no matter what he does, right? So at the end of the day, he should entertain and educate, right? So if he had the opportunity, it would be great for people to know, right? One of my most watched videos on my channel, now obviously my demographic is older, but is the Cape Coast Castle. And I shot that video as one of the first 2 videos I've ever shot on YouTube. And that to this day still gets people watching it, and still gets comments, and people still talk about how impactful it was to hear. And it's only 15 minutes of the hour-long tour, right? So I think it would have been really impactful for his audience to see that, especially because it's children of all ages who don't have that knowledge or education and won't be getting it in school, especially public schools, because they're removing a lot of that type of education from public schools today in the United States, which is where most of his audience is. Any final thoughts on iShowSpeed in Ghana?
Well, people are commenting about saying they didn't like the ending. I thought the ending was because the way the ending was, it's like multiple women were massaging him at the Shea Butter Museum. It was a very sensual kind of vibe. In that it was a strange ending, is what people are saying. And yeah, so I mean, and then somebody is in the comments is also saying that he's not a party animal and that nightlife is for drinkers, but I don't think it's necessarily always for drinkers. And it's not that I wanted to say that he should be showing partying, because what I noticed is when he was in Ivory Coast, there was a musician that he was with on one of the boats, and he was talking about how he liked the music, and he was just like dancing and everything, and how he likes the Afro beats. And so I just felt like to go somewhere, because Exhale Lounge is a nightlife thing on a Monday, but it's not a club. It's actually a restaurant. It's actually a restaurant that has like an outdoor space. It has this what's the word, tropical vibe with the palm trees around and the different lighting. And it's a place that people go and eat, and people just sit and chill, and you have a good DJ playing good music. So it's not really a club. It's like, it's a Monday night, and people like to gather there and socialize and hear good music, and they eat and all that stuff. So I felt like that could have showed a different side of, you know, people like to lounge and eat good food, have a good time in the evenings and stuff like that. So, and especially because he kept talking about how he's 21, he's an adult now. He kept saying it on his stream in Nigeria that he's 21 now, he's an adult, he's got to do adult things, he's an adult. So I just felt like it would be a nice evening thing for him to do. It doesn't mean that you're, you know, you're getting drunk or anything. And yeah. And then Lady V890 says, iShowSpeed is not responsible for showing the world about Ghanaian culture. He did what he did. That's a good idea. The nightlife will be a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, when you travel to a country, you're traveling to Africa, and his goal was about showing culture and showing the heritage, showing the lifestyle of Africa, of Africans in different African countries. He did say that was part of his mission. Part of it is showing culture. So you've seen culture in other countries, so why not see some of the culture in Ghana? Because you've seen culture in every country, he's seeing it, right? So, yeah.
All right. So moving on from iShowSpeed and his Ghana trip, and we will see if he spends more time there. But from what we have been told, it is only one day. I know that it was 20. Yeah, 20 countries in 28 days. And I know this is the very end of that 28 days because it started at the end of December, and we're on the 26th of January. So I do think he is very, very close to the end. And he's already been to Liberia, or he hasn't been to Liberia yet? Because if he
went to Liberia already,
he has to get to Liberia. He did. Okay.
The last country,
so I know Liberia,
from what I understand, the last country is going to be Namibia.
Okay, so now he's going to go to Namibia. Okay.
That was supposed to be earlier in the trip, but somehow logistical things, so it didn't happen when it was supposed to.
Got it. Because so he did do all the West African countries already.
Yeah, because Ghana was supposed to be last.
Somebody's saying he said he was going to stay 2 more days in Ghana, but then then somebody else is saying he already notified us is tomorrow he's going to tour Namibia. So it seems like there's some conflicting thoughts in what people are saying in the comments. But anyway, we will find out tomorrow. All right. So moving on to Davos. So the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, happens on a yearly basis. What happens is heads of state, former heads of state, secretaries of state, go to different countries, Congress people, to raise money for different causes, to speak about different things. There are a lot of conversations about New World Order, the World Order, right? There were some conversations about that from North American leaders, and I'll leave it at that. But the president of Ghana, John Mahama, actually gave a speech, and his speech covered quite a few topics and a lot of key areas. It was a 26-minute speech. So if you want to watch the speech, you can find the link in the description if you want to get details on the speech. But just from a high level, before we play some of what the speech sounded like, I wanted to give you a kind of an overview of what he discussed. So the big idea was the message is Africa isn't truly sovereign yet. And he described how Africa is what he called in a triple dependency trap. And what he meant by the triple dependency trap or problem was that, one, as Africans, we rely on others for security decisions. Two, we rely on donors for health and education systems. And three, we supply critical minerals but capture almost none of the value, things that we talk about a lot on these live streams. He talked about different things that brought these things to the forefront. The global sickness, where there were some dependency issues. I'm saying it that way because of the platforms. They don't like when you use the actual words. He did mention the global order was shifting. Aid is shrinking. Traditional development aid is slowing down. As you guys know, countries are prioritizing defense and their own interests. And so Africa can't build its future based on handouts. Important message to mention. He said Africa must do a number of different things. And he mentioned what they're doing, at least with the Accra reset vision. So he said investing in skills tied to real jobs, digital manufacturing and green energy. He said build regionally, manufacturing hubs, energy grids, digital infrastructure, negotiate as one. That's one of the things he mentioned that Africa needs to do, specifically as a continent, especially on minerals, trade, and climate finance, because obviously collective bargaining and collective action works better than if each country operates on its own. And you see that even with the AES and how much stronger they are as a collective, as opposed to how they were operating as three siloed individual nations. He said to produce at home medicines and key technologies, so not dependent on others, and then holding ourselves accountable, cutting waste, fighting corruption, and delivering results. He's Ghana as an example of execution over excuses, reducing government waste, digitizing services and limiting corruption, renegotiating debt so money goes into people and growth. And then he had a call to action, and he basically said that Africa isn't asking for charity. Africa is proposing partnership without pity, and the goal is measurable sovereignty. He's looking for jobs, functioning systems, and opportunity at home so people don't have to risk their lives leaving. All right, so that was from a high level, the things that he focused on. Again, it was like 10 key points, 26 minutes. But let's get into at least a quick, short compilation from Africa is Powerful of his speech at Davos, and then we'll have some more commentary on the other side.
We depend on others for our security choices. We depend on donors for our health and educational systems. We supply the world's critical minerals, but capture almost none of its value. This isn't sovereignty, it's a trap. The COVID experience was a wake-up call. Africa was the last continent to begin receiving vaccines amid a global pandemic. But for the immunological profile and resilience of our African population, many millions would have died in that pandemic.
The speech you have just watched is from Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama, who has delivered a powerful and fearless address at Davos, right here at the World Economic Forum, currently underway.
All right, so the speech is 26 minutes long. As I mentioned, we don't have time to play it all for you. If you want to check it out, you can. So I'll give my thoughts really quickly, and then I'll turn it over to you, Ivy. I think it's important to continue to have these conversations. What I find is most challenging, though, is every so often, or pretty much every year, leaders get up at the United Nations General Assembly, at Davos, at the World Economic Forum, and they speak about these things. And what I find is that other leaders don't join in and take action. And that's the challenge that I find most disheartening about how excited people get about these speeches, but how little it goes into action when it comes to the collective continent, working together towards solving some of these challenges. And so I saw some other folks, former president of Nigeria got up and spoke almost immediately after. after President Mahama spoke. As you can see, this is a smaller room with specific number of folks. This wasn't to everybody that was at Davos. There are like these different rooms and different meetings and groups where these conversations are had. So we'll see. We will watch over the next 12 to 24 to 36 months if some of the ideas mentioned here, others, join in and really work to build on. Generally, I'm not as optimistic as I hope to be, just because I've seen this. I mean, I don't know how many times I've talked about the UN General Assembly and how some powerful speech was had, and then we still see what has been happening on the continent in terms of these, exploitation of resources, terrible trade deals, etc. But let's see. Hopefully, Mahama is able to inspire others to join in and to work on some of these things that he called out as challenges and some of the solutions that he mentioned. So those are my thoughts. Ivy, your thoughts, please.
I think that there's so many people in the diaspora who don't always understand what's really happening behind the scenes. And so I think that in a country like Ghana that is always wanting to connect and build a bridge between Africa and the diaspora is important, because he really is basically saying that he's kind of tired of the way that Africa is always being treated as a charity case, and that he wants African countries to start being treated more seriously. And as you said, this is something that we have heard time and again, that we hear leaders come and say things like this. And so we have to start seeing where we're taking action. And he seems like he wants to. A lot of us feel like it should be more than an emotional conversation, and that this is about the continent repositioning itself. I think that he's very much talking about Ghana's reset over the last little while, and he has a reset agenda to reset the country. So I think that this is all part of him wanting to reposition Ghana. I think that he wants Africa to not be desperate. He wants the continent to start organizing itself in a way that you're not always dependent on others. So let's see what happens going forward, and what he said, if it's actually touched others into wanting to support Africa in the changes that they want to make.
Yeah, well put. I mean, fingers crossed. I mean, as you said, let's hope it inspires others to get involved. I mean, and as you mentioned, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, eliminating the debt for the energy sector, and eliminating and removing or reducing other types of debt. We talked about this before. The money was obviously there to eliminate that debt. And it just takes someone to decide it doesn't go in their pockets, but it actually should go towards what it's meant for, right? And so I hope that other people see this as an example to follow. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to call out any specific countries in Africa, but we know who we're talking about, where we see these challenges, and they're talked about at nauseum. So something else that I thought was really interesting that you brought to my attention is that Ghana is also working on a bridge. The Volivo Bridge, part of a $10 billion big push plan. This massive investment in Ghana's infrastructure is set to elevate the country's development and growth. This video that we're going to watch is going to explore the implications on the project. So we're going to watch this video, give a little bit more insight into what this project is and what it's meant to do. Now, they are working with a Japanese-backed company and Japanese-backed technology to build this bridge, but it's meant to be a big infrastructure project. So we'll play this video and then have some commentary on the other side. There we go.
Right. Let's imagine you're standing on the banks of the mighty Volta Lake in Ghana, sun beating down, water glittering, and something massive on the horizon. Not just another bridge, it's the Volivo Bridge, set to become one of the most transformative pieces of infrastructure in the country's history. Now, I know what you're thinking. A bridge? Really? But trust me, this isn't just about concrete and cables. Volivo Bridge is the beating heart of Ghana's Eastern Corridor road network, a project that will connect the north and south like never before. For millions of Ghanaians, this means faster journeys, booming trade, and new opportunities. And who's driving this bold vision? President John Dramani Mahama. Under his big push infrastructure plan, $10 billion strong, the Volivo Bridge is front and center. He's not just talking about change, he's paving the way for it, quite literally. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Japan is all in. Just this week, a top delegation from the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, visited Ghana. Miyazaki Katsura, their executive vice president, didn't mince his words. Japan's ready to back Ghana both financially and technically to get this bridge built. To top it off, a crack team of Japanese engineers will soon arrive to evaluate and help finalize costs. This isn't just talk, these are boots on the ground, plans in motion, and real money on the table. Why such commitment? Well, the Eastern Corridor isn't just a road, it's Ghana's lifeline. It means smoother transport for traders shifting goods from Tamale to Tema kids in rural areas, finally reaching schools and families accessing hospitals without hours of detours. It's the kind of change that lifts whole community. And the ripple effect? Massive. We're talking thousands of jobs, new skills, and local businesses growing alongside this project.
All right, this video is a little bit longer, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but you guys got the gist. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Ivy, this bridge project and what it means. The video describes it as, as a process in order to travel between large metropolitans easier. What are your thoughts on this bridge project and what it means for, like he said, jobs and also transport between major cities?
Well, I know we didn't really get to talk too much in depth before we went live today, but when I did a little bit more research, because I know we jumped on the live, because I literally just got back from Independence Square, and then when we jumped on this live. But I also read that this was a conversation during the previous administration as well. So I don't know what's going to actually happen, but I also heard that it was a discussion in the previous administration, but it wasn't a priority and it kind of was left to the wayside. That's what I've read. I think it was Modern Ghana that I saw it in. So there's a lot of stuff up in the air about this topic. I was having a hard time finding more information because it was an Instagram post that we started that conversation on. So I'm trying to find more detailed information, but I think it would be great because we do need something else. Because we always see the Adomi Bridge looking so nice from Kwame Nkrumah's era that it would be nice to have something new. Because at the end of the day, road work is something that's very key in building a nation. So having bridges, having better roads are ways that we can travel easier, and it helps business, it helps the country grow. Because when you think about it, having bad roads, not having proper bridges that connect different areas also makes it difficult when it comes to transporting goods. When you're transporting goods to, for your farmer and you want to ship your stuff, deliver your stuff to one part of the country, when you have a good road or you have a bridge that you can cross, it certainly helps you in what you're doing. If you're going to school and you need to cross a bridge, like all those things when it comes to daily living is important. So I think it would be great if they actually do this.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that. I think one of the challenges that I find is transport between major cities by road across many countries in West Africa. Ghana is not to be excluded from that conversation. We talk about, two cities that are right next to each other, right? Tema and Accra. And from my own personal experience, when I worked at Jumia and we used to go frozen. You guys can still hear me though, right? You just can't see me. I'm frozen.
You're frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So as long as you guys can hear me, it just looks crazy. Sorry, guys. So when I worked at Jumia, we would go to Tema a lot because that's where the factories are. So Bell Aqua, Wilma, all the different brands that if you're Ghanaian, you know. And we would go on these meetings and if you came back during rush hour, it literally took us one time 3 hours to get from the Bell Aqua factory. Now it was pretty deep in Tema.
Oh, that side. Yeah, that side.
The Bell
Tema. That
factory.
side. Yeah.
All the way. So we drove through Tema, and then, but this one road, 2 lanes, one this way and one this way. And you had all kinds of cars trying to, and to me, I just thought there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. There's no way that people do this every single day. And we were in a car with no AC. Oh, that was a struggle. It was a struggle. It was hot, slow, not moving. It was different. But anyway, so, you know, hearing about any infrastructure projects, I think are hugely beneficial and important. It allows for more intercity travel, right? Like you notice that some places here, like I for example, have a friend who at one point in time would travel from Philadelphia to New York City daily to go to work, right? It was a 2-hour trip by train, but if they wanted to drive, it was about a 2.5 to 3 hour trip, right? And we're talking about cities that are much farther apart than Tema and Accra. And so I do think it's important to have these kinds of road projects and infrastructure projects to assist in the transport back and forth of different people, but then also to put a lot of people to work, right? So many people are hoping for the government to bring them jobs. You hear so many people ask for that. Why doesn't the government have more jobs? This is one direct way to get jobs, right? To get people to work and to get skills. So I'd love to see if this project does happen. I do know it's been in discussions as I'm Googling it. It's been in discussions for 5, 6, 7 months now. So hopefully we do see this project underway and it does assist in that process. Somebody mentioned I lived in Tema and the motorway is bad. They are working on it. Yes, I have seen the construction, which made me very happy because I was on that motorway, and I just recently in December I was there, and I was like, okay, they're widening the highway or the motorway, and they're making it bigger. So I'm looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. All right. So last but not least, we have Google partners with Ghana to roll out AI tools in local languages for education. So really quickly, the Minister of Education has announced a partnership with Google to introduce artificial intelligence tools in local languages, including Tree, Ewe, and Dagbani, as part of efforts to expand access to education across the country. One of the things that I've heard a lot of people mention, and I think PLO Lumumba mentions this, is that one of the reasons why some people fall behind in education is because they're taught the major subjects in a language that is not their first language, right? If you're taught things in another language, you have to translate, then learn, which is so much harder than just imagine. Let's say some of you have taken Spanish class. Imagine going to all of your school in Spanish, right? Just think about that, right? So it is really important that I do think on the continent we should be teaching people in their native language, and also offer other languages to help them if they want to do things internationally. But I do think that is a big challenge across the continent, is that most people are learning in a secondary language, which really does stunt the growth of many who are still having a hard time picking up that secondary language. So I'm going to play this video and then we'll have some commentary on the other side. Oops, there we go.
This is the lowdown. The Minister for Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, after a meeting with the Vice President of Google, has stated that plans are underway to advance speech recognition and AI tools for our local languages such as Tree, Ewe, and Dagbani. Now, according to him, Google is working closely with the University of Ghana and GDI Hub to achieve this. He also emphasized the importance of including Hausa in this project since it is spoken widely in Ghana and West Africa. This is the lowdown on the Ghana Insider.
Okay, the lowdown on the Ghana Insider. So thoughts on this AI project and these AI tools that they were mentioning in this video?
I think it's good. That's it.
I think so too. As I was doing research on this, I did find that some people felt that they should have included Ga. I don't know if this is a done project. It's not all the way done. So I do think they're probably open to, feedback. But guys, as you mentioned, that is the Accra is the land of the Ga people. And so obviously it should be included if you're going to include all the major languages. From what I understand from my earlier research, there are 80 something different dialects and tribes across the country of Ghana. And if I understand correctly, are 13 official languages. And so, I think they're going to have to start with the most widely spoken languages to ensure. But I will tell you, when I was in Accra this last trip, I was speaking to a lady I was buying something. I can't remember what I was buying. And the lady who worked at the shop started speaking to me, and her sister or her niece or something said, "Do you understand her?" I said, "I don't understand Tree." And she was like, "That's not Tree, that's Ga." And she was like, "We don't even speak Tree. We speak Ga." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right. That is the tribe that is settled in Accra. And that is the language that is spoken there." So I have to sometimes, I can't tell the difference between the different Ghanaian languages, as you can tell by that story. And so, but I do think it probably should be included as one of the languages.
Since you mentioned that, I would say that I would say that it's a good idea for them to have it done in the 11 official languages that are recognized by the Language Bureau of Ghana. So there are 11 languages. Tree, Ewe, Ga, Dagbani, Gonja, Nzima, and there's other ones I can't remember, but that's what I remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. All the languages should be included in all the major languages.
11.
So I said 13. It's 11. It is 11. You see, this is why you always need to have someone who is knowledgeable to correct you. All right. So any final thoughts before we bring this live stream to a close? I know it's late in Ghana.
No, that's it.
All right. So I will say, guys, thank you for watching this far. This has been a very engaged group today. It seems like this iShowSpeed topic brought a lot of people to the live stream. I mean, a number of people joined from Ivy's YouTube. So hopefully you guys found this useful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up so more people can see this, in their feeds. And also make sure you share this with anybody who wants to know about anything happening in Ghana. We're going to be doing these live streams bi-weekly. Of course, if you haven't already, subscribe to both Ivy's channel and my channel. We both look at our analytics, and we know many of you watch the videos, even the live streams, and don't subscribe. So make sure you subscribe. All of that is free. You can support us for free by doing that. And if you so choose, you can support us in other ways. Ivy has them in her, in the description on her YouTube videos. You can find it in any of her links. Just go to her pages. You can find them. And then for me, same thing. If you want to support in other ways financially, we would take all the support we can get if you can. With that, I want to say thanks again for watching. Thank you for doing this again, Ivy. And
Thank you.
See you guys all on the next live stream. Bye, guys.